This is a beautiful instrument. I play this guitar all the time. I'm a guitar player. I love making music. It's something I thoroughly enjoy. But this is a wonderfully unique instrument that possesses a very cool piece of technology that allows it to do some things other guitars can't do. And so what I'll show you is this guitar has on the back of it a robot battery-powered tuning machine that, with a flick of a button, tunes the guitar. Now, we're not going to sit here and listen to this tune because, quite frankly, that's the reason to have an automated tuner. But that technology is bolted on to this piece of equipment, this musical piece of equipment. It doesn't replace it. It doesn't change what it can do. In fact, an electric guitar is a relatively new technological advancement anyway. This was created mid-20th century, if you can look that far back, to basically make sure the guitar players could be loud enough to be heard over those surly drummers and horn players. That's what this is for, right? So relatively new in itself. Now, what I think is important about both of those technological innovations is they've never really changed the spirit of the instrument. It's still a guitar. You still have to be a musician. And as cool as this thing is, and as much as I like it, I could play any guitar because I know how to play guitar. Right? Not very well, which is why we're not doing that today. But the concept is, it's novel in that you still have to be a musician. The technology just enhances and amends what you can do. It takes away the need to tune and spend time on those things, which we all should know how to do in the musical space, and it lets you get back to that mission, which is actually playing the instrument. Engineers typically would build things like electric instruments, right? You've seen them, keyboards, computers. Digital technology for music has come so far. The tools are amazing, I cannot deny that. But I've never stood up for a laptop solo. Right? I love listening to guitar. And so the element of the humanity that exists in the combination of technology and, again, a musical instrument, or the things that make us human, I find very, very strong and dear to my heart. We're not talking about the singularity here. This isn't a Kurzweil argument in any way, but I want to point out that I think that that's terribly important, that something as novel as a guitar possesses some technology that can help it be a more useful tool to its user. So why is that important? I think this is exactly why we need to encourage that we never abandon humanities and liberal arts education in the country and in the world. Humanities and liberal arts provide context. An engineer builds a keyboard. A person with a contextual understanding of music and the passion for creating things in arts comes up with a tool that makes music better. That's what I believe. And I think it's that context that we can never lose sight of as we go out and think about how do we solution things in the world. I'm an IT leader, so I'll talk about myself for just a second. I'll explain why I think this is so important and why I think humanities and liberal arts students are the rock stars of the future. I think they're also the next round of IT leadership in the world, and I'll explain why. I've got a really cool job. I happen to be a strategic IT thinker for a very large government organization focusing on health and human services. So we talk about big-time IT enterprise systems that basically try to make sure that people get health insurance, people get services they need, and we do it all statewide here in Indiana. So I'm going to warn you, none of those words are words I studied in college. None of them. IT, government, healthcare, human services, what does that even mean? Well, now I know. And the reason I know is because I started out as a person that studied music. I studied art, I studied literature. I love reading. I will never not read. Liked Latin, basically liked all the classes the cute girls were in, right? I didn't do a real good job with the science and the math. But when I went into college, I continued to do English, creative writing, English literature, and I wanted to write the great American novel, I think like lots of English majors. And so when I got out, though, they weren't hiring for that job. So I got a job at the lowest rung at a really big IT company. Timing was right, the universe aligns, and I started my career out of college in the IT business. And so what happens is you get into an IT field and somebody says, hey, you can write. And you go, yes, I can. And they go, hey, you're pretty good at talking to people. And you go, you know it. And then they say, hey, can you go talk to those folks, write down what they want, and let's build the things of their dreams. And you go, absolutely. And you know what they say next? They say, what if you ran these teams and you did all these projects and you helped make all of this come true? And you go, oh, wow. Absolutely. I can do all of those things. And the thing that's really great about that is I still don't know if I know how to do any of those things. But that ability to be able to craft in any type of career, in any type of space, the critical thinking and the components that you can bring to any industry with a liberal arts background and a thinking person's background, I find to be critical. Now, I don't really want to make this about me, but to talk a little bit about my career, basically after getting kind of the nods on stepping up and taking the reins in a few places, I really decided I did need to learn a little bit about technology. So I actually got a master's degree in information and communication sciences. I basically bolted that technology onto this instrument, right? And while I was here at Ball State, I actually learned how do you do problem solving about IT and research around IT and how to look at big challenges around IT. The context is different, but the problem solving is the same. The same methodology probably applies in most industries. So when I left the university here, I got into consulting because I really wanted to help people think through their problems. Loved the job, and I ended up becoming really what I do today, which is a strategic positioner and a strategic thinker about large IT problems. How come? Because I know how to research, I know how to problem solve, I know how to think in context. I know how to bolt something on to a guitar instead of building you a brand new keyboard, okay? There's times and places for everything. And the context, I think, is that you can learn how to apply to that space. So why is this important, and what does this really mean for everybody? Well, I think it really means that we all have choices to make out there on what we do for a living and where we go. But I'm here to tell you that I think you need to follow your passion. I think there will be time to learn technology. There will be time to learn complicated subjects. I'm never going to tell you we should do less STEM education. I will never tell you that. I believe there's a need for that. But I will also say I encourage us to never then shift the balance to where we are eliminating artistic education and learning from our educational institutions. You owe it to yourself to learn these things. You owe it to yourself. You actually owe it, I think, to society. That critical thinking is what you're all capable of and what we are capable of when you learn about context. So again, why is that important? How many of you use Siri or digital assistants or Alexas, things like that, right? Okay. Pretty cool tech, right? So let's talk about a specific example. I love this one. The word bottle in English, okay? Pretty common word, B-O-T-T-L-E, something you drink out of. You don't spell it that way when you say it. When you say it, the phonetic alphabet that would get drawn out would probably more resemble a D than a T. Human language is a little, you're lazy. Bottle takes a aspirated note. Duh does not. As humans, we're a little lazy. Sorry to break that to you. So phonetically, you don't spell it that way. And so a linguist has to know that. Let's say you're from England, you probably pronounce bottle more like bottle. It's got a glottal. That's an entirely different phonetic chain on the alphabet there, right? But when you talk in, whether it's you, me, or Noel Gallagher somewhere in England, when you talk into that device, it knows how to make that happen. So sure, there's a lot of technology in there, but there's an army of linguistics people working on this. How cool is that? Linguistics saving the day, right? So that kind of concept of that amalgamation and that concatenation of different types of subjects that pull together to equal contextual technological advancement is where I think I want you to all leave here today with the understanding that you don't have to go into technology. You don't have to pick one thing to do. So I guess I'll say it this way. In summation, I'd like to address three groups. Students. It'll all be okay. you don't have to move so fast on, say, a field like technology today. Do what is passionate to you. Do what you're passionate about. Do the things you enjoy and the things you're really good at. Technology will always be there. My technical chops change all the time. The field changes all the time. I think the ability to contextualize, say, great short stories and talk art at cocktail parties is probably just as valuable. Again, nobody stands for laptop solos, right? So learn how to find what you like to do and study those things. I'm a prime example that I didn't study IT out of the gate. I studied the things that I enjoyed, and this profession found me. Hard work and the right kind of luck and the right kind of network, and you'll do just fine. Second group, we'll talk about employers. Liberal arts people are rock stars, man. They are super good at stuff. They communicate well. They're pretty good at writing. They're usually, relatively agreeable. They stay up late. They drink a lot of coffee. And they don't know that there are jobs like this out there. And so employers, you must look for and you must find that pipeline, that creative pipeline of people that are really talented at things. You have to question as an employer, are you looking for technical capability and prowess today or technical aptitude and promise for the future? I usually go for the latter. And I think as students, again, that you need to remember that you need to work for that next job, that person you want to be. And third, I think I'll end on educators. What I would ask, I guess, of all of us educators is that we string together those two populations, students and employers, whether it's at universities or at any other type of level, where we're creating basically talent pipelines for creating programs that involve creative students that give them opportunities that they can find employment in the field that's relevant, that combines both humanities and modern enhancements and careers like technology. I think it's critical that we create launch pads, springboards, and other types of talent and mentor pipelines that allow students to be as successful as possible when they don't know what they're going to be at 23. I had no idea what I wanted to be at 23. I still don't really know what I want to be, but this is a pretty good job. This is a pretty good place to be. And I think that I encourage all of you to think about, how do you not lose the instrument, but you merely enhance it? Because we can bolt the technology on, I guarantee you. So do what makes you happy, whatever your parents say. Do what makes you happy. Read a book, learn to write, study the humanities, but always think there may be a job for you in IT. Thanks for having me.